right, welcome to another episode of the Spohn Train podcast. I am super stoked to have on someone that I've looked up to since I met him. Matty, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you, watching your journey, building your flipping business, your education business, your investing business, and your content business. And I've learned from you in so many of those categories. So I want to welcome you today, Matty Aitchison. How you doing, buddy?
Brother, it's great to be here with you, man. I'm always excited to be having conversations with you. Being around people that are always open-minded, always learning, always growing, always being open to, sharing good things always leads to some impactful conversations. So anytime we get together, it's always fun, man.
Yeah, and we've done some interviews before on M1 and some other places. And where was the first time we met? Was that in Steamboat? No, One Life.
It was One Life.
One Life, Philadelphia.
And then we got to hang out in Steamboat, and you were talking some trash, playing cornhole, backed it up. So I was like, all right, I like this dude.
I did back up my trash talk in there.
You did back it up.
So you have so much going on. I want to dive into what makes you tick, how you've been so successful, how you've been able to have the impact that you've had at such a young age. What are you, 19 now?
Shit, dude, come on now. We're the same age, or you're what? You got 1 year on me? You're a grandpa?
So. We're pretty close.
I'm 31. I just turned 31 this year, a couple months ago. Feeling like I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
But it's fun. The first, I think somebody said, you spend your 20s really learning and kind of consuming, I would say. And I think that will always be, I'm a student for life, and I'm always looking for my next teacher. But now I feel like in my 30s, as I've started to accumulate some wealth and get some experience under my belt and have some, I don't know if I would call it wisdom, but just some insights based on my own journey. Now it's about kind of scaling and growing and going very vertical on the foundations that I have poured and crumbled, and now kind of feeling out where my strengths lie, my passions lie, and my unique abilities that I can bring to those areas, going as vertical as I possibly can on those. So, the 30s are going to be spent, I think, really growing and building to the level that I believe I can get those things to. And of course, I think enjoying as much of that journey along the way, but I'm still in heavy growth mode right now.
Yeah, you and me both. So let's talk about your story a little bit, because I know you didn't have like this, rocket to the moon start of your career, right? Yeah. So share kind of what got you into real estate investing and where you were before that.
Yeah. So if we were to rewind back to when I was like 13, 14, 15, my parents divorced when I was very young. My mom was taking me to real estate investing and personal development seminars with her back in the day, a long, long time ago. And I remember specifically one real estate investing conference where I saw these guys up on stage, and they were showing $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 type checks. And I was just so motivated and inspired by that. And I remember thinking, man, one day, I'm going to be doing that. One day I'm going to be up on a stage like that. And as I said that, of course, didn't really think that it was truly something that I was going to be doing, but it was that dream in the moment. And then fast forward, to when I was in high school, I ended up starting to get involved with drugs and alcohol and, lots of, I think, things that most teenagers are exposed to and or deal with in some capacity. And I just went down, I would say, the wrong fork of the road. Still was academically doing okay, but kind of living a second life where outside of school was, doing things that really didn't align with the goals and the dreams that I had had for myself. My audio, right? All the things that I told myself and told other people I was going to do really wasn't aligned with my video and how I was living my life, the actions I was taking. And I ended up getting expelled from high school. And that was my first week of my senior year, rocked my world. And that was a big shakeup in my life. That was what I call my first oh shit moment, and was really faced with taking accountability and ownership for my actions, because I was doing a lot of stuff previous to that. I just wasn't getting caught. I wasn't really getting called out on that stuff. And I ended up kind of course correcting a little bit And in order to have that expunged from my record so I could still apply to colleges, basically I had to go to 6 months of community service and continuing education. And I was not going to school with, my friends, and I was kicked out of all of the sports. I was playing, multiple sports in high school. And basically, everything that I had known was completely pulled out from under me, rightfully so. And I remember going, man, I'll do whatever it takes to get back on track. And I did that. And I ended up, of all the colleges that I applied to, one place basically gave me that chance, and that was UC Santa Barbara. And I ended up going to UC Santa Barbara, and within the first year fell back into, again, bad habits. And I ended up getting arrested and facing felony charges. And I remember basically coming out of a blackout in jail. I look to my left, and there's this big, like 6'6" biker dude, handlebar mustache, tattoos everywhere. And I look to my right, and there's this Hispanic guy with literally tattoos all over his face and gang affiliated. And I look around, and that was pretty much my new tribe and my new environment. And that was my second oh shit moment, going, if I ever get another chance to really walk my talk and align my video with my audio and what I believe I'm capable of and want to achieve for my life, I'm never going to make that same mistake again. And time had played out. I was going through the court process and all that. Well, anyway, 6 months later, the charges had gotten dropped. I had gotten that third chance, I guess you could call it. And I remember going, I'm never going to go down that path again. And there was that one call that really changed my life, which was my dad at that time had said to me, everybody makes mistakes, right? Like, we all have our own mistakes. Maybe yours isn't getting arrested and having felony charges. Maybe it was, something completely different than that. But how you respond to that mistake is what is going to define the character that you have and the path that you're going to walk on moving forward. And that really stuck with me. And so I decided to really stop hanging out with the people that I was hanging out with. I cold turkeyed a lot of the stuff that I was doing. I really started to try and make my life congruent and aligned with the things that I knew I needed to do in order to get the results that I wanted to get. And so I ended up getting a job after like 16 applications as a cold caller, which was one of the best jobs that was ever given to me. Mind you, it was minimum wage. I was working 30 to 40 hours a week going through school, but it really started to expose me to entrepreneurship and small business and learning how to communicate and connect with people and just really having responsibility. And that was back in 2008. And then I graduated in 2010. And I ended up getting a job offer from this guy. And when I started to go down the checklist of kind of my career hit list of all the things that I wanted, I knew I wanted unlimited earning potential. I knew that I wanted to be my own boss. I knew that I wanted to help people and achieve, their goals in the process of achieving my own. I still wanted that lifestyle design. I wanted the sexiness of, being able to do great things. And, I was money driven, very money driven at that time. But at the same time, I also wanted to be in a career that allowed me to generate wealth in the process of doing all those things. And that job was not going to do that for me. And many other jobs with my expensive piece of paper that were offering me $30,000 or $40,000 a year weren't going to do that for me as well. So I came across a Craigslist ad, and I basically ended up going to a brokerage in Sacramento and working for the broker for almost a year, about 10, 11 months for free, which exposed me to real estate investing and flipping houses and wholesaling. And I saw how much money this guy was making, like 50, 60 a pop. And this was back when there was, you could sneeze and come across real estate investment deal with foreclosures in 2010, 2011. And I was basically making nothing. I was working for free for this dude. But that price of education set me up for many years moving forward that I did not know at that time, but I was learning a skill set. I was learning something that I could then turn into some type of monetization. And that led me into buying my first flip, a couple hundred flips later, years later, building a real estate team, partnering in a construction company, starting to get more speaking engagements, things like that. is really what got me into that path. So it started back in the day when I was, 13, 14, but it was also a lot of the hardships and a lot of failing forward along the way that led me to some of the stepping stones, those failures that gave me good feedback. And then just the course corrections that I think we all try and make along the way throughout our journey.
So I think you fall into the category of millennial, at least close, right? And
Yeah. Come on, man. I'm not that old.
Supposedly, like, we're supposed to have this entitlement mentality, but you are working for a guy for free, right? What's your motivation in doing this? Did you know that you were learning to build yourself up for the future?
Absolutely. So, in my opinion, and I've always seen it this way, because whether it was a basketball coach, whether it was a baseball coach, and I think sports played a big part of this, is having a mentor, having a coach, in my opinion, is one of the greatest life and or business hacks that's out there and available to us. To be able to, and we'll just apply it in the context of business, to be able to be around somebody who is generating the income that I wanted to generate, who had the systems that I needed, that had the experience that I wanted, that had the reputation that I was looking to get, that had the contacts that would have probably taken me years to develop and find. That was a shortcut to success for me. And it allowed me to shorten my learning curve. It also allowed me to accelerate the results. It also allowed me to avoid mistakes that I was not only making at that time, but would have probably made more moving forward without having that individual in my world. So I knew there was a major value on that. And whatever, 40, 50, 60, let's say even $100,000 I could have made from that guy by getting that education, it made me multiple seven figures over the years moving forward. So that was something early on that I really did wrap my head around and saw massive value in. And I think a lot of people miss out on that, is they go for the low-hanging fruit and they go for the short-term result instead of playing the long-term. I call it the microwave mindset versus the crock-pot mentality. So many people go for that quick hit, that easy result, but it never makes as good of a dish as what you're going to get in the crock pot. Now, it takes more time. There's a lot more variables of those things coming together and fusing together. And as time goes on, it definitely creates something much more desirable in the big picture. But many people were very short-term focused, and that can be very limiting in many capacities of the big picture of life and goals that we have as individuals.
So you're talking about this one person that had a big effect on you, but knowing you, the thing that I would say you do better than maybe anybody I know is build a network, right? And you surround yourself with amazing people. You're able to connect people, and for your age to accomplish the things that you've done, I think that foresight to take the crock pot mentality and building those relationships has been a huge, factor in your success.
Well, I think too, and I appreciate that, brother. I believe that we all have this ability to tap into our own superpowers, right? Like, some people have unique superpowers that are only specific to them, right? Somebody can crunch numbers in 2 seconds. Somebody can build rapport with somebody really fast. We have our unique skill sets and superpowers. Then there are what I call universal superpowers that most people just don't tap into.
Mm-hmm.
For example, one is energy. I try and bring energy to everything that I do, everywhere I go, because it's infectious. We all know those people that when we're around them, we're like, damn, I just love being around that guy. He's awesome, right? His energy is infectious. And then there are the people that you're like, oh my gosh, get me away from this person, right? And so it's the same thing in, hey, if you want to have better business opportunities or networking opportunities, bring energy into every conversation you have. If you want to have better sex, bring better energy into the room. If you want to have better health, bring more energy to your workouts, right? So I look at the things that I can control. There's another aspect of this that I call the likability factor, which is being likable. Is the equation that I call it is being confident in who you are and your skill set and your unique capabilities, right? That confidence should not equate to cockiness, though. Being confident and also being humble, right? Being humble and knowing that you don't know it all and you don't need to know it all, right? And being curious is a way that allows you to remain humble, but still be confident what you can bring to the table. And the last piece of that is always looking to add value, right? So confidence plus humility plus value equals likability. People just want to be around people like that. So it's something that I try to bring to every opportunity, every relationship, every experience that I have, because, I don't need to be liked by everybody, but if I can also be confident in who I am, I can also be humble in how I go about that, and I can always seek to add value to people and make them better. That just makes a perfect storm for you being a likable person, which those likability opportunities lead you into more, revenue generating opportunities, get
Mm-hmm.
pulled into conversations that you probably shouldn't be in yet, or maybe haven't earned the right to be in yet. But because people like you, they will mentor you, they will invest in you, they will invite you on trips or into boardroom meetings or whatever it may be, just because they like you. And so I think that's a really important piece that everybody can apply on their journey and their capacity in their own unique way. And then, the last part of that is not just having the door open for you and generating opportunities to build a network and to have relationships, but also building a tactical strategy or plan behind it. So I literally have a follow-up plan for all of the people in my world that I want to stay in touch with. It's not by accident that relationships continue to get stronger and better. They require work every single day. So just like my relationship with my wife requires a lot of work every day, my daughter's requires a lot of work every day, and the relationship I have with my health and my mom and my dad and my family, same thing with my mentors, same thing with my network, business contacts, personal contacts. So I have a strategic follow-up plan of making sure that I am at least calling them once a month, texting them, or it's a quarter, right? So it equates to one per month, but it's an email, it's a call, and it's a text, right? Oftentimes I'll just shoot a video and reach out to people and
I
just let them
love
know that I'm
that.
thinking about them. So it's having a strategic action plan for your relationships as well. So that way they continue to move in the direction that you want them to move in, and also avoid the alternative.
Yeah, and people do business with people they like, right? Like that's at the core of almost everything I teach with influence and persuasion. A few weeks ago I was in Vegas and I had the opportunity to build some relationships with some of the top hypnotists in the world. Now I've been a hypnotist for a year and a half, so not very long, and these guys have been doing it their whole careers. And I'm at a table with the leaders in the industry because I got a few of them to like me because I use a lot of these strategies
Yep.
that you're talking about now. And then I love your follow-up strategy. That's something that I do a little bit. I can definitely get better at is sending that little video, right, to say happy birthday or whatever, and follow up with your mentors. It just builds relationships in a way that most people never take advantage of.
So true.
Yeah. So I want to talk about, you have so many things going on. How do you organize it? How do you set your goals? And what are your routines to accomplish that stuff? Because you put it all out there and then you just like cross them off your list and you just move forward and get stuff done. At least that's the way I think of you.
Yeah. First I'll say that I fail at it every day, right? It's a constant work in progress, but one of the things that I would say has helped me get much better over the years is having a North Star. So every single year I do an exercise that I call the rich life clarity contract. And for me, my definition of a rich life, and everybody has a different definition, by the way. So it's being clear in what your definition of living a rich and happy and fulfilling life is. I believe R.I.C.H stands for relationships, income and investments, community and contribution, and health, mental, physical, and spiritual. So I can have clear and intentional goals in those pillars of my life, then I know exactly what I'm moving towards. So a lot of people are just floating going, hey, I want to make more money. Hey, I want to travel more. Hey, I want to have a better relationship. No, get really, really clear on what that looks like. So the clearer I am, the easier it becomes to make decisions that are aligned with that and avoid decisions, relationships, opportunities, distractions that aren't aligned with that. So I do this exercise every year where I write out my 5-year vision. Now, my 5-year vision is really, it's just once you do it every year, then it's just a little tweaking every year. Hey, I'm going to reforecast my 5-year vision 1 year out based on the last year that I covered, right? And I'm going to kick that 5-year vision just one more year out. But from there, once I know what my 5-year vision is, then I just reverse engineer it. Hey, what do I just need to do this year that, if done, would be a stepping stone to getting me that much closer to my 5-year vision? Great. Once I know what my annual goals are, then I chunk it down even further and I say, don't let me plan out my entire year. Let me just figure out, what do I need to do over the next 90 days in this quarter that if done would get me closer to achieving my annual goals, then I know that based on what I set for my annual goals gets me that much closer to my 5-year vision. Then from there, I just reverse engineer, what do I just need to do this week? What do I need to do this week that if done would get me a little bit closer to the quarterly, to the annual, right, to the 5-year vision? So I try and just chunk it down as much as I possibly can, because overwhelming, right, things that come into our world prevent often taking massive action. So I just try and simplify it as much as I possibly can.
Right.
And from there, I have the ability to know exactly what my action plan is. And then it just comes down to execution. It just comes down to discipline. So from there, it's how do I need to behave every single day that, if done properly, gets me to achieving the outcomes and results that are aligned with my weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, and 5-year vision. So really, it just comes back to your daily habits once you have your action plan figured out. So for me, I do, I think you've seen my tracker before. I have a morning routine. I have an evening routine. And I know that if I get those things done often, more than not, I am going to show up as the best version of Matt, which will be the most productive, the most energized, the most happy. And if I can bring the best of me more times than not to my daily activities, then I know that I'm most likely going to win my days, win my weeks, win my months, my quarters, my years. Now, does that always happen? Hell no. We'll start with that. But more than not, right, it does happen. And that just comes back to intention. It comes back to clarity. It comes back to discipline. And you look up and you're like, shit, man, I've covered a lot of ground. So that's kind of what it looks like. And then the second piece of that is, once I'm clear in what that action plan looks like and what those goals are, I always ask myself, what can I delegate? What can I leverage off to my team and my employees and people in my world? Because that's a big part of it as well. You know, I am not the smartest, fastest, or strongest human being on the planet. I know that. I wouldn't even pretend to be. But I do have people around me that are world-class in the areas that I am not. And it would be idiotic for me to try and hoard those activities and responsibilities and not delegate them than if I were to trust in those people around me and trust that they can do it way better than I am, and not rob them of that opportunity, which is the reason why I brought them into my world in the first place, and allow them to do that together. So just like the example of the 2 horses that, one horse can pull about 8,000 pounds behind them solo. You get 2 horses together, they can pull 28,000 pounds. So my goal is always, how can I surround myself with people that are world-class at the things that I'm not, put them in the positions to win, empower them, lead them, trust them, and how can 1 + 1 = 100 instead of 1 + 1 = 2? So those are some of the things that I do. By getting clarity, then I can know how better to delegate and to support the individuals that I'm looking to help me cover much more ground than I could do by myself.
I love it. I love it. There's a lot of ground covered there. So I was going to ask you one thing about how you stick to the discipline of that daily routine, how you keep that motivation, because I've seen so many people go to events and come home and they just lose it, right? And then I was thinking, I've been traveling a lot this year, and that makes it difficult to get in a groove. But since I've been back the last week, I've recommitted to that morning and evening routine. And I know when I do that, I'm my best self. I'm in my best state. I'm setting myself up for success. And it's like those few minutes of planning in the morning and the evening change everything. Is that accurate?
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just putting in a little bit of time, right, on those things. And big things start with small things. So it's just keeping the habits, I think, going is really important. I was talking with one of my consulting clients and coaching clients today, and she was struggling with getting into the gym. And I'm like, look, you don't need, just because it's not the most ideal way you want it to be done, doesn't mean you don't have the responsibility to do it, right? So it doesn't mean you need to get in the gym and work out for an hour, but if you could still get a 15-minute workout in and just prove to yourself that you can keep the habit and the momentum rolling instead of killing that habit and having the alternative momentum working against you. Oh, I'm so bad I didn't get in the gym today. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Oh my gosh, right? It's that negative impact. It's keeping the habit and the momentum rolling in the right direction, for one. And the second piece of that is accountability. So, at the end of the day, we are all weak, broken human beings doing the best we can with what we have. So the second you add in layers of accountability outside of yourself, it is scientifically proven that we will do more and accomplish more when it is something beyond our own unique, selfish commitments, right?
Yeah.
So I have an accountability group that I've been on a call with for 5+ years straight now. Every single Wednesday, I can count on one hand how many calls I've missed over that 5 years. And being accountable to other individuals and giving other individuals permission to call me out of my BS when I need to support me and lift me up when I need it, to lend a belief in me that I maybe don't have in myself at certain times of the journey, has been so critical. So the accountability piece is really important, and to surround yourself with that tribe that can pick you up when you need to, that can supercharge you when you need to. That is so, so important. And then just being very, very intentional about eliminating people and avoiding environments and things that are energy depleters and distractors. That's been big part of me, at least taking the steps that I need to take every single day to cover the ground that I want to cover.
Yeah, that's some amazing success tips there. So we'll start wrapping up, but I want to ask you about when you're leveraging, what's some secrets or some ways that you find to take your vision and to burn that in the minds of the people you're working with, to inspire them with the same vision that you have?
Well, I think the hiring process is really key, right? And that's something that you got to make sure that you're aligned, and the person that is coming on board, I got to know who they are. So, one of the acronyms that I like is when I'm first kind of getting in relationship with people, I call it, and starting to learn a little bit more about them, and if they would be, the hiring process is a multi-layered process. For one, it's slow hire, quick fire. A lot of people usually hire out of pain, and they end up making quick hires, and that obviously works out the way it works out for most people. But in the initial process, it is work. So it's WEIGH, way. It's your work experience, your education experience, your interests, your goals, and your habits. So that way I can start getting a feel for, like, what kind of person is this, right? They don't need to be like me, but I just need to understand who they are, and understanding personality profiles is important based on the role that you're hiring for and who you're looking to potentially delegate stuff to, right? That's a big part of it. But the second piece of that is, again, goes back to clarity. As if you're people to buy into you, they need to understand what they're buying into. They need to understand what vision they are buying into. So you have to be able to clearly communicate, where are we going and how are you an important role in that? I can't do this alone. And you can't do this alone. Together, we can cover much more ground and be supporting each other in achieving things that individually, right, we may or may not be able to accomplish. So a big part of that is always making sure that I'm not only communicating the vision clearly, that I am forecasting and dangling a carrot out there at all times to keep them inspired, to keep them clear on what that is. Because, some days I am unmotivated, some days they're unmotivated, right? But as long as we all know exactly where we're going and what we're accountable to and what our responsibilities are and roles are in that vision, right, we can all collectively pick each other up and make sure that we keep moving in the right direction. So I think the clarity piece is a big part of all aspects of life and business, and that if you don't have it, it's very easy to stray off of that vision and get unmotivated and to start doing things that aren't in alignment with it.
Matty, there's a ton of success tips. I'm going to have to re-listen to this, and I'm already taking notes over here. So I'm getting it. And I spend time with you, so I'm taking, you have so much to offer. This is some great reminders. So if somebody wants to learn more about you, your processes, how to spend time with you, where can they go?
The easiest place to go is either to listen to the podcast Millionaire Mindcast Monday, Wednesday, Friday episodes, or in a more intimate setting inside of our community, the richlifeacademy.com, where we talk a lot about this, rich life principles, and just building your definition of a rich life, all on the foundation of obviously building wealth and all of those pillars.
Amazing. So what are you working on right now that's got you the most excited?
Ooh. For me right now, what has got me most excited is I'm actually closing tomorrow on a hotel up in South Lake Tahoe, a smaller boutique hotel. And that's going to be a really fun project. I'm big on, if I can buy an asset, a tangible asset, real estate that generates great cash flow, and I can create experiences with it. I can take family, friends, do events up there. That's like the trifecta holy grail of an asset for me. I can't do that with my fourplexes or commercial strip mall or things like that, right? So I'm really excited about that one, not just for the cash flow, but for the experiences and the things that I'm going to get to share and create with people that I love and care about. And the big daddy is if I can close on this project that I've been working on for about 3.5 months now. We still got a ways to go. It's a multi-layered project, but it's a vineyard in Napa Valley. That will be kind of like my Lombardi trophy that I get to hoist over my head. Not many people on the planet, I think, can say that they own a vineyard or a winery in the wine mecca of the world in Napa Valley. And so I'm really excited about that one, but also it's a heavy lift. So it's, again, going back to surrounding myself with people that are way smarter than I am who can help me get this across the finish line. And that's what I'm really pumped on right now.
That's amazing. I'm super excited. I can't wait to come have a glass of wine on your vineyard.
Oh, yeah.
So, last question. What's been the most transformational experience or event for you?
Oh, man. Well, I don't talk about it very often, but my most transformational experience was a plant medicine experience. If people are familiar with ayahuasca, and to me, and that was a very intimate retreat. That was through a mutual friend of ours, actually. That
I interviewed her yesterday. She's going to be on the podcast. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So she has a Rhonda, Cosmic Rhonda, our amazing friend and guide on this experience. I've done a lot of personal development events and masterminds. I'm a part of Go Abundance, which is a men's millionaire mastermind group and a wealth-based group, but also in all areas of your life. I've been to dozens and dozens of conferences and events and trainings, but I can say the deepest work that I've ever done on my heart, my soul, my mind was through plant medicine. And, that would require a whole other hour conversation for you and I to get into even scratching the surface of some of the things that I learned about myself. But in general, I think it just taught me a lot more empathy for people, for myself. It taught me to surrender and not try and push so hard all the time, to enjoy this journey a lot more, and quit being so excited about where I'm going and more excited about where I'm at. And that's always a constant struggle for someone like myself and for like you, and I'm sure many listeners are always pushing for more and aspiring to achieve more. But those were some of my quick takeaways, but that was definitely a life-changing event for me.
Yeah, and me as well. It's definitely top 5, if not the number one life-changing event for me as well. So
for sure.
Well, Matty, it's been a pleasure having you on. I'm sure I'm going to run into you fairly soon, and we talk all the time. So
yes, sir. Can't wait, man.
I'm excited for all the things you have going on, and I'm definitely going to recommend that everyone that's listening follow you on YouTube, follow you on Instagram, follow all the amazing things you're doing, because it's educational and inspiring. So I appreciate it.
Back at you, man. What you're doing is inspiring to me. It is has impacted me in many ways, and so I love that there's always that mutual exchange of value and support and love, and that's what this is all about. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, my pleasure.